Every one of you should have your own internal SOP per product that you're testing so that you know your fucking numbers. So many of you guys, you don't know your fucking numbers. You don't know when you should cut something. You don't know when you should kill it. You don't know when you should scale it. And you need to know those numbers. It's going to be different for everybody because everybody has different thresholds of what they want to be profitable. But I'll give you a few starters, right? Number one is going to be cutting based off of CPC. So this is just when your ad costs are extraordinarily high before you're even getting close to getting a singular conversion or a singular sale. Like if you spend $10 and you have one click on that ad, or for me, my rule is minimum $20 to spend. I don't cut anything under $20 to spend. If that's the first rule and something spends $20 and the CPC is way outside of your KPI, then that should be something that should be cut. For me, my rule is typically anywhere from 2 to 3x the average CPC for that specific geo that I'm targeting. I'll give an example. If I'm running ads in the US, I look at the average CPC for that time period. If my CPC is more than, again, 2 to 3x, let's say my average CPC is like $1, and this one ad has a CPC after $20 spent of $4. That's a 4x of my average, which for me and my brand, one of my brands, and the economics there is dog shit. So that would be something that I would cut. For me, I don't do any cuts underneath $20. If you want to be even more aggressive, you can do like 10. But that's the first rule. You need to be cutting essentially just based off of soft metrics. The next is based off of leading indicators. So you have soft metrics, which is like your CPC, CTR, CPMs even sometimes. I rarely cut because of CPMs because your CPMs will influence your CPC. So it still kind of falls into this first rule here. But the second set is what I call leading indicators. So if you're running on Shopify, this will be your add to carts, initiate checkouts, and that's basically it. Your add to carts, initiate checkouts. So for example, if for you, it takes on average 3 add to carts to get 1 purchase, right? That would be a 3-to-1 ratio add to cart to purchase. If that's you, if your add to cart ratio is 3-to-1 and your target CPA is 60, you know that you should roughly have at least 1 add to cart by $20 to spend because that would be perfectly in line with your target CPA. If you want to be a little bit more conservative, maybe bump it to 30. If it spends at least $30, doesn't have at least 1 add to cart, that could be something that you cut. This is not necessary. This is actually the last kind of criteria that I put in place because you really need to know your numbers initially. And you could potentially cut ads that are actually going to be winners and be profitable if you don't know your numbers good enough. But that is a leading indicator because it's leading the purchase. The purchase is kind of the last thing to actually happen. But the add to carts, initiate checkout's another one that you can do. So typically it's closer to like a 2-to-1 ratio of like initiate checkout to purchase, in which case, same scenario, if you have a $60 target CPA and your ad spend's like $30 to $40 without a singular initiate checkout, that could be something that you cut pretty early. Again, is that going to be a winning ad? Like, let's say you let it run, even though the cost per initiate checkout is outside of KPI. Is that going to be a winning ad? Fuck no. But it could be an ad that is profitable within like a few $100s of spend. Is it going to be the one that runs the account? Fuck no. Because those winning creatives, the winning ads that run the entire ad account that get like 50%, 70% of the spend on a daily fucking basis, those are hard to find. And when you do find those ones, you'll fucking know. You'll know from day fucking one because it does so good on such a small amount of spend. It'll have cost per add to cart, cost per initiate checkout. That is like a fraction of your KPI. That's really how you know. Like if you look at leading indicators, you want to see a really, high performing ad, leading indicators will tell you that for sure. Now for cutting losers, you can be a little bit more lenient and let it run all the way to your target CPA if you want, or your break even point, or maybe it's the same thing. If not, then you can add it in if you want to be really aggressive with your cutting. So that's kind of the second kill and cut criteria. Now the third one that you need to have, notice I'm not giving you guys exact numbers because I want to teach you how to think, okay? I want to teach you how to think. I don't want to just fucking spoon feed you everything. I already do that in every one of my YouTube videos, okay, cunt? I want you to be able to think about your numbers. And you should have literally like an economic spreadsheet for every single product where you have your price point, your margins, your COGS, your payment processing fees. Maybe you project some refunds or chargebacks, and you know truly how much you can spend. Most of you guys probably know your break-even return on ad spend, but do you know your break-even CPA? Do you know your target CPA? Are they the same thing? If you don't, you should. I actually have a calculator. DM me metric on IG if you want that sheet that I just talked about. Okay, rule number 3 here, cutting based off of CPA or ROAS. These are hard metrics, okay? What we looked at previously, which is your leading indicators. This is the indicator. Like that's the leading indicator. This is the indicator. This is your hard metric. These are your buyers, your purchasers, people that are paying you money. This is basically the final point where you're either going to be cutting or scaling an ad. And so the first is that first purchase. So how long do you let an ad spend before getting a purchase? This isn't a rhetorical question. Again, this also really depends on your personal economics because I can tell you for some larger brands, the brands that get like multiple rounds of fundraising, they can spend deeply in the red to acquire a customer. Many brands that I know of, I know some of their numbers, and they will be operating at a 0.5 ROAS on front end. They'll be operating at a 0.9, a 1.1, whatever it is below their break-even point, because they know that the customer is going to be cash flow positive on purchase 2, 3, 4, etc. But that's probably not the majority of you. You want to be profitable on the first order. So how long you let an ad spend before getting a purchase? The maximum I would typically let an ad spend is going to be roughly up until your break-even point. That's kind of a pretty safe bet in terms of how long you want to let something spend, unless those leading indicators are not within KPI, in which case, if the CPC is like way outside of KPI, guess what? You can cut it way before your break-even point. If your, let's say like cost per add to cart is way outside of your KPI, once again, you can cut that. If it meets these two rules and both of these are in place, the next point is going to be right at your break-even point. So if it spends your break-even point and you don't have a purchase at that rate, if you get a purchase in the next second, you will be break-even. And then you can spend a little bit more to acquire that next customer. For me, I have different rules in place because I want to be more than break-even to acquire a customer. So my cutting and scaling criteria is actually changing very frequently because I either want to like be more aggressive and cut stuff faster and increase my standards, or if the account is doing really shit, I can actually lower my standards because if I keep them so high, nothing is going to get anywhere near the point that I need it to be actually be profitable.